Here I am. I'm starting again. Technical difficulties. I had my iPad set up, didn't work. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's settings. It may be my phone needs an update. It could be that. And I haven't done it because I'm out of storage space. So it could be that. I'm going to go ahead and make this video, and I'm hoping that, and I'll just share it. If you're not there and you don't get it right now, I will share it so that you will see it later. I know there's quite a few people that were waiting to hear about it. At my introduction, it's endometriosis, estrogen dominance, heavy cycles, problems especially with the cycles, and I'm not going into menopause tonight. So this is something that I'll be doing just for people, especially young women. I've gotten a lot of calls recently about girls with very serious, heavy periods and not getting help, being put on the pill. So that's what the subject is. I'm going to pray and I'm going to make my announcements. And Lord, I ask that you'd bless this video. I pray that you would use it worldwide like you have. I thank you for your goodness to me. I thank you for my home. I thank you for so many things. I thank you for my 51 years of experience as a nurse. I ask that you would guide my mind tonight, help me to be focused, help me to complete my thoughts. And Lord, I ask that you would just bless those that are listening, and any woman that's going through a very hard time, I pray that this would reach her. In Jesus' name, amen. Announcements. Oh, goody. I'm finally seeing some reaction. That is wonderful. I'm sometimes out here, we're out here, way out here, far away from any, I'm on a ranch in the middle of 600 acres. And so sometimes it's a technical difficulty. Sometimes it's a Facebook problem. Sometimes it's a software update. I see, hey, Jackie Ruckle, my friend. So my subject today is about happening to a lot of women today. And I know you're gonna say, oh no, she's gonna talk about diet again. But first, I'm just gonna define endometriosis as a condition caused by mislocation of endometrial tissue and attaches to other organs. It's normal tissue, but it grows in abnormal places. The menstrual flow is heavy and painful, and the waist blood flows backwards, and it goes through the fallopian tubes, and instead of the out of the body. And by the way, heavy periods, this can all be helped very much with diet. Young ladies today have no idea that fertility, I have several friends that are trying to have babies and they're not conceiving. Your diet is a huge, huge portion of fertility. Diet and the right kinds of foods. And as I go into explaining this, the heavy periods are the same problem, only in endometriosis, the blood backs up. Some women have heavy periods, it doesn't back up, thank the Lord. And because we're all unique, and because there's only one of me and one of you, and we all handle our health different. You know, you don't have to be sick. You don't have to feel lousy. But I will say this, if you continue to eat the standard American diet and don't make some changes, you will be sick. We've been led to believe by the medical world that we have to be sick, we have to take drugs, we have to have surgery. Hysterectomy hoax, it's called a hysterectomy hoax. Woman after woman's had to have a hysterectomy because they did not know how to balance their hormones or change their diet. And of course, every time a surgeon cuts, he makes money. And so you always want to get a second opinion. You always want to seek the root cause. And I'm going to talk about root causes tonight. You know, we have a marvelous self-healing body. For example, I cut myself with a knife when I'm cutting vegetables. And when I do that, it bleeds and it's sore. And if it's a really sharp knife, like some new ones I got a little scar there. But within 24, 36 hours, a scab fills over that cut. Then within about 2 to 3 more days, that cut totally heals. I would put some tea tree on it. Some people would put, mercurochrome or whatever they use nowadays. peroxide and a Band-Aid, but we don't do anything to heal it. It just heals. And so God gave us, he said we're fearfully and wonderfully made. But our problem is our foods have all been so damaged that we're taking in things that are affecting our cells. So we have this self-healing body, but it only works if you're feeding it the right food. Whole foods, not processed, not chemicals, living foods, like a big salad every day. I always have something green at every meal. This morning for breakfast when I had eggs, I had sliced tomatoes and avocado. I always have some kind of vegetables on green at every meal, and it's amazing what it's done for me. Started that 25 years ago. I wish I had known some of the things I'm teaching you tonight when I was a young woman. When I was a young woman, I ate really terrible. I lived with teenagers and I ate like a teenager. Fill in the blank. You are what you eat. Okay, I should have been a big pepperoni pizza. I loved pepperoni pizza. And I loved a Dairy Queen. And Dairy Queen, is full of sawdust. People don't know that. Cellulose. There's all of our processed foods, our fast foods, have tremendous amount of chemicals, of course, so much sugar, corn syrup, all that stuff. Well, your body was designed to take in living food. God said he made every herb-bearing seed and every vegetable for us, okay? And grass-fed or hormone-free meat is fine. The problem is people eat the meat that's full of hormones. And so what's happening to all these young women, and I got so many calls in the last month. I've gotten calls from people that are down in bed. The girl's down in bed bleeding and she can't stop. And she's on a couple of the birth control pills because that's what the doctors know to do. And so we are having some serious sicknesses and problems with this because we're taking in a lot of chemicals and hormones. You say, why doesn't everybody do it? Our bodies are all different. Some people are very, they're not affected in the female section. Some women are not affected in that reproductive system. Other people are affected and have cancer. I'm talking to some people very young in their 40s with breast cancer. And so we have to, the very first thing we have to do is understand that your body is designed for living food and water, not pop, not alcohol, living food and water, and exercise and sunshine and relaxation and a break from the computer. And our whole lifestyle has changed so radically. In fact, I'm working on this as fast as I can. I do not want to go into dementia. I do not want to go into a nursing home. I do not want to be in a wheelchair. And most of you know, I found out when I got down here to Missouri that I had parasites, which I believe is a major problem in America. Nobody is addressing it. I've dropped 35 pounds I'm playing around with 4 or 5, but without dieting at all, simply by treating parasites and balancing my hormones. And so this problem of bleeding can be caused by several things, but one of the major things is the diet. And so when you eat a big salad, those nutrients go into your body. Your body breaks it down and it goes to the cell. And Romans 12:1, it says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercy. Hi, Rachel Cassidy. Hi, Paula Peterson. I'm seeing all kinds of people there. Kaylee Moore. How you doing, girl? And so our food is then broken down, and then it's broken down by the small intestine, and then the large colon takes out the food. The small intestine, all the nutrients are absorbed through the lining of the intestine into the bloodstream. And so when that happens, the good salad, tomato, carrots, all the healthy things, those go directly to the cells. They go to the bone marrow when the bone marrow makes the cells. And then those cells reproduce in our lives. For example, your red blood cells only live 120 days. So they're immediately replaced. But what's replacing them? Is Dairy Queen replacing them? Is Simon Says replacing them? And so what happens is when we take away from the living food and we eat The standard American diet, SAD. We eat the bad foods. And let me tell you, I've been there. I say that all the time because I never want you to beat yourself up. Then what happens is those new cells that come along, wherever they are, they can be in your bones, it can be in your thyroid, wherever those new cells are inferior. They're not good because their building blocks are not made up of healthy cells. So then what happens is we begin to get breakdown. We get a breakdown in a system of our body. And we don't even realize it. And so, and sometimes it takes a while, sometimes it's slower. Sometimes we think, oh, I just have bad periods. No, we shouldn't have. In fact, you're gonna be shocked, but when I started studying this, I began studying this when I became a teacher at Hyles-Anderson. I worked at Hyles-Anderson College for a number of years, but I was not a classroom teacher. And I started studying this and I found out the Japanese women, now this was years ago before they had McDonald's, they had a 4-hour period. That's all it lasted because all they ate was fish, vegetables, and rice. I mean, 4 hours. And Americans, we would have a week, we could have 5, we could have horrible bleeding, we could have horrible pain, horrible cramping, and craving for chocolate, which includes magnesium, and usually you need magnesium and don't take enough, and magnesium helps with the cycle. And by the way, one of the causes of endometriosis is a magnesium deficiency. I read that today. And so what happens is, when we have this wonderful self-healing body, I want you to understand that God gave us this body. I'm amazed at what we can do to it and still keep going. I've had patients in their 90s that smoke, drink, eat sugar all the time, eat terrible, and they're still in their 90s. And now they don't have a real quality of life and their brain's getting bad, but still, they're still alive. And so these are foods, and here's the other factor. I'm 70, and I grew up, there was no McDonald's until I was about, I don't think I was in one until I was 17. So most of my food, we didn't have a TV till I was 9. Most of my life was centered around farms, gardens, playing games with my parents, reading. We didn't watch TV, we played games, we had healthy food, we grew everything ourselves. We had a huge garden. We had cherry trees, apple trees, everything. And so in the 50s and 60s, there was a lot of good food out there. Now, then we began adding the pesticides, which do affect us. Then we began having McDonald's, which they will admit to you that there is chemicals. Their cheese is basically a bunch of chemicals. It's not real cheese. There actually is chemicals in McDonald's to make you hungry again in 3 hours. You just need to read up on it. I know I started reading about this and studying it 25 years ago. And so a lot of most of our fast food places the food is not real food. Then we look at what's happened with our corn. We don't have all of our corn is genetically modified. So when you eat a piece of corn, it's been genetically modified. It's been changed in a lab because the original seeds are gone. Now you can still buy what they call heritage seeds, and you can still buy seeds that are part of the original food, but our wheat is genetically modified. Our corn is genetically modified. Many of our foods are genetically modified. Soybeans, which is causing great hormone dysfunction in our bodies. We have the highest rate of infertility in the world, America. We have a terrible rate of infertility. We have a terrible rate of obesity. And my heart goes out to anybody out there who's trying to lose weight and can't lose weight, because that's where I was for 10 years. Had some hidden root causes I did not know about, even though I kept seeking and trying to find. So the very first thing that you've got to realize about endometriosis and heavy periods is that what has to happen is the diet has to change. Now, I put a title in there, estrogen dominance, and I want to explain this. Because of growth hormone in the animals and some of the chickens, and not all animals and chickens are injected. And the lady who does my hair, how do you like my hair? I got my hair done and she does my hair, but she's also a part-time farmer, and she sort of set me straight about not all cows are injected with hormones, although they are injected with different things. They get vaccinations, they're fed, sometimes they're fed a lot of corn and starch, which makes them get fat, and then we eat the cow. See, and so there's a lot of issues going on, and I want to know where I'm getting my meat at, and I'm blessed. I'm out here in the ranch area. I can get grass-fed, grass-finished beef. I can get organic meat, and so here's the problem: a lot of our meats, a lot of our dairy are injected growth hormone, antibiotics. I'll tell you an interesting story. I have a friend whose brother was a chicken farmer. They went down to help him in August one year, and the flies were like horrible. And so they were helping the brother, and the brother said, "I'm sorry about the flies, but I want you to know I saved $15,000 by not putting the fly pesticide in the food for the chickens." So when you eat a piece of chicken at Kentucky Fried, you might be getting antibiotics, you might be getting pesticides, you might be getting hormones. I know you're getting hormones because that's how they make the chicken big and fat. And so the same thing's true with a lot of the cows. Now, not every farmer does this, and I'm saying that because I know I don't want to, I don't want to offend anybody unnecessarily. And so anyway, but a lot of the animals are injected. A lot of the animals are fed moldy corn and moldy hay. And those, when the animal eats that, it goes into their body and it's converted into what we call a mycotoxin. Then we go to the store and we buy it and we cook it and we eat it, and all of that goes into us. And so I was very overweight, and number one, and number two, I had awful cycles, very bad cycles, horrible cycles. I would have to go to bed. But during my cycle, I would eat a whole big bag of M&Ms, which are just full of cancer-causing chemicals. Corn syrup, fructose, garbage, chemicals, colors, dyes. You can hardly buy a jar of pickles in America that doesn't have, it'll say green 13 and yellow 12. Those are dyes. And DYE, dyes and chemicals and all of that. It's going to catch up with you. I would say I've had the best quality life since I changed my diet 20 years ago that I had beforehand. And I do have some things that were done to me by the medical world that I can't undo. When I was, that were just, took out my tonsils and took out my adenoids and took out my appendix. Years ago, everybody thought tonsils you didn't need them. Well, they're part of your immune system. They protect you. And so there's a reason you have all your organs. You need them. And you need every organ. In fact, I found out today when I was reading about, again, when you get your gallbladder removed, that changes how you handle your thyroid, because your gallbladder and your liver are together, and your liver conjugates T4. So the doctors are taking out, and by the way, when you take out a gallbladder, yes, it's the little sac that has stones in it that causes pain because we eat too much fat. Well, your liver still makes stones. So there you still got an issue. Now you got a liver problem. And so what we want to do is we want to heal the body, fix the root cause, and we want to do it using most of God's methods. And it's interesting. I'm going to do a video called "Why Christians Get Sick." Why come we pray for so many people and they still die? It's interesting because God does answer prayer in a lot of ways. But I can't tell you how many people I know have taken chemotherapy and died. And they've done everything they could do, and they still died. And they may have died of heart disease, or they may have died because the chemo messed up their heart and their kidneys. They die of kidney disease. They go into complications. They have no quality of life. I feel I have a very good quality of life. Do I have some problems? Yes. Am I still working on them? I will be working on them until I go to heaven. I'm not giving up. And so I'm blessed because God has led me in my life to Christian caregivers. I had Dr. Cal Streeter when I lived up in Maryville, and he's still practicing, and he's still good, and he's in with another doctor in Shipshawana, and he's excellent. And he's 82 years old, and if I had cancer, that'd be the place. He knows so much about it. And yes, he's a little hard to talk to because he's hard of hearing, but I would go there for his brain. So back to our subject, the hormone imbalance. Okay, so estrogen dominance occurs because we are taking in too many particles, too many foods that have hormones in them. Let me give you another example. Our cleaning, what we do laundry with. Tide is full of what they call xenoestrogens, chemicals that mess with your endocrine system. They're called endocrine disruptors. Your endocrine system, and I'm going to get a little technical here, but you need to understand this. See, my people, the Bible says my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And we need knowledge to understand, because for you to change your diet, it takes some real commitment. It takes you have to have courage, and you have to take time to fix food and maybe get a juicer and do some things. But the fact is, you need to know. So here we are, we have chemical in our detergent. There's actually 12 cancer-causing chemicals in dryer sheets. We have dryer sheets. We have chemicals in our shampoo. We have chemicals in our soap. We have chemicals in our food. We eat sugar, and we eat foods that are genetically modified, meaning they're not gonna feed your cells. Well, what else is your body gonna do? And in fact, if you haven't been sick of some kind, and I believe diabetes can be caused by diet and parasites. I mean, every single thing that's going on in your beautiful self-healing body is controlled by what goes in here. And here, all the different things. When I got breast cancer 18 years ago, I cleaned my whole, I got all my personal care products, I changed to all natural. I use a tea tree body wash. I use, my husband uses homemade hand soap that's all made with no fragrances. I don't use candles anymore. I diffuse oils, essential oils of the Bible. I just gradually, in the last 20 years, have evolved into getting rid of anything that has chemicals in it. And so, our bodies, again, the more natural we can put in, the more living, the more whole foods, then you're gonna get better. Estrogen dominance, causes of endometriosis and heavy periods. Estrogen dominance, which I explained about our foods, deficient progesterone, overall hormone imbalance, magnesium deficiency, believe it or not, hypoglycemia. And let's go back to the endocrine system. The endocrine system is a group of glands. And it's not that hard to understand. Some of you have to just look it up to see. But I want to point out that the pancreas is part of this system. So your pancreas is intricately linked to your ovaries. People don't think that. The reason the holistic medicine, I love it, it's the total body that matters. Instead of going to one doctor for this and another doctor for that and another doctor for that and a doctor for this. And sometimes you have to do that. For example, if you need an orthopedic, if you need a knee situation, if you've got a knee replacement, vitamins won't always take care of a knee that's on bone. Now, I did have some improvement. So I won't go there. So the endocrine system includes your thyroid, your ovaries, your pancreas, your pituitary, which is up here in the brain. And all these glands work together. They're like dominoes. So when we take in the wrong foods and we take in things that have chemicals and sugar, well, then all these glands begin to malfunction and they affect each other. A lot of you don't know that your cycle is very dependent on your thyroid. And in our world now, we need iodine and selenium for our thyroid. We're mineral deficient. We're very mineral deficient. Why? Because we're not getting it from our foods. We're not getting it, and you can't just always supplement everything. You really need to get it like from juices and from, real ingredients. And so lots of leafy greens and nuts and are really good for magnesium. So because we don't have the minerals we need, well, then we're not producing the hormones we need. In the case of the thyroid, which is located in the neck, we don't have enough iodine and selenium. Those are the two minerals that help the thyroid make thyroxine. The thyroid in women is what causes ovulation. You're not going to have a regular period every month without thyroid function. That is linked to estrogen dominance. So all of this endocrine system, and by the way, if you eat a lot of sugar, and I did, if you eat a lot of sugar, it's going to affect the pancreas, which affects the ovaries and the thyroid. So the endocrine system is a group of glands that operates totally different from your heart, totally different from anything in your body. It's awesome. It includes your adrenals also, which is one reason why we're not handling stress real good. Your adrenals are affected by hormones. Your adrenals are affected by sugar. And so all these glands, there's about, I think there's 12 or 13. Remember, I think the thymus, I think it includes the parathyroids. I'm not going to go into all that, but I will say this. We have dysfunction, we have tumors, and we have problems with all those glands. Diabetes is rampant. Now hypoglycemia and pre-diabetes is rampant. because we've eaten the wrong foods, dash chemicals, and they've affected our glands. So that all goes together. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to lose weight when you have really eaten right and done right and you don't lose. And probably it's because combination of a hormone imbalance. So all of these different things matter in the case of endometriosis / heavy periods. So the first thing to do is, the very number one, is to get off of sugar and by the way, caffeine's really bad for periods. I didn't know that until today. I should say this week. I reread some stuff that I was looking at. But all your hormone, now, I have videos about foods. I'm not gonna do all the food thing tonight because I wanna go on to give you some other suggestions. But anything that's got hormones in it is what you wanna avoid. I get Amish butter because they don't inject their cows. That's about the only dairy I eat. I eat a little bit of goat yogurt because goat is easier on the body. I eat a little bit of sheep cheese, and because dairy, again, our dairy is injected, our dairy is pasteurized, everything good is taken out of it. Now, if you live on a farm or you happen to be in the country where you could get a hold of some raw dairy, that's a little bit different. However, again, our dairy, go read go read all the definition on the ice cream. The additives and the ingredients. I'm not getting the right word there. The ingredients on ice cream. I mean, Breyers is what I used to eat. It's loaded with all kinds of things. You can't recognize half of the ingredients. So now I made banana ice cream while the kids were here. And I just took frozen bananas that were ripe that I had put in the freezer, and I put them through my juicer, and it comes out like soft serve, and they loved it. And they put cashews on it and nuts, and Hannah had about 6 stevia sweetened chocolate chips on her banana ice cream. And so, there's a way that you can substitute instead of having all the hormonal foods. I would guess, I don't know, but anything that when you read the ingredients, if there's just like 6 things, that's what you want. And so most people are intolerant of dairy today, but I don't think it's just, if you were out on the farm and you got it fresh from the cow and you didn't have pesticides and you didn't have hormones in it, it'd be something totally different, I think, for the body. Now, because we've done so much damage to our bodies, we have to be sort of radical. I just can't, dairy does not do me good at all. But I want to tell you, if you're struggling right now with uncontrolled bleeding, I actually had a lady that was down in bed bleeding for several months. Or you are having irregular periods, heavy periods, and you want help. The first thing to do is get off, and you may be able to reintroduce some healthier versions, but get off the dairy, get off the sugar, get off the caffeine. Those 3 things are really bad for endometriosis and heavy periods. Our bodies need minerals, okay? And I even read today that, do you know endometriosis can be caused by parasites? They can live anywhere. They can invade your organs anywhere. They can go to the brain and go anywhere. And what they do is they lay their eggs and they reproduce, and they can cause all kinds of problems. And they can cause, I did not know this, but they can take up, and that's where they live. And they live there and they just take over. And so your body, in a reaction to try and fight it off, will start bleeding and won't stop bleeding because it's trying to get rid of some of those. So it can actually be a parasitic condition. There's a book by Dr. John Lee, and I was going to tell you a little bit story, but back in the 70s, natural progesterone you couldn't get it in America. I actually had 2 girls that were very depressed, and they were very suicidal. And they were not overweight. One was very thin, but she had been a drug addict. She was at college, and I started working with her, and I had read up about, this is back, like I said, 70s, 50 years ago. I've been working with progesterone. And I sent to England for natural progesterone. And so I gave to these girls this natural progesterone, which is made from a yam. It's made from plants, and it was life-changing. And so I began studying, learning, and Mrs. Trieber was somebody that was very involved in natural hormones. And I discovered Dr. John Lee, and he is the author of a book called Hormone Balance, What the Doctors Won't Tell You About Hormone Imbalance and Progesterone. You can, after I get off here, I will post it on I will post a picture on my Facebook page. But one of the suggestions would be, if I've got 5 things I say here for choices. One is find a functional doctor and get tested for parasites and hormones. Second, you can do a hormone test from your own home. You can order it. It's a sputum test. It'll test 5 things. It'll test your thyroid, your estrogen, your progesterone, your adrenals, cortisol. It'll test those 5. I think it's about $200. But you can get that and find out if your daughter or your sister or whoever we're talking about has hormone imbalance. You can start the diet and go on OTC, and then I also put down you could private message me. There actually is a product out there besides natural progesterone. There's a product out there to stop heavy bleeding, and it's my holistic nurse, my nurse practitioner. She sells it. Her company sells it, and I actually got it for somebody, and it's really decreased a lot of the bleeding. You will not get better with the pill will make your body think, the birth control pill will make your body think that you are pregnant. The smallest birth control pill has 11 times more estrogen than the woman's body needs. Also, number one side effect, one of the 9 side effects of the birth control pill is reproductive cancers. And we are the number one, breast cancer is like the number one cancer in the world now. And I do think it's because hormone imbalance, including the use of birth control pills. Does everybody get it? No. It just depends on your genetic makeup, your diet, your health lifestyle, your exercise. Some people get it, some people don't. So there are some choices, okay? Get a functional doctor, get a hormone test, have an appointment with me, start the diet, get on, and you can Google, those of you who are dealing with this, moms, daughters, look up estrogen dominance, and you'll understand, it will show you some of that. Look up Dr. John Lee and see some of his material. Those are both places online you can find solutions. I would recommend, there's an actual progesterone you can buy on Amazon. It's a cream, not as strong as prescription, but it could give some of you help. It just depends. Some of you may need prescription natural progesterone. There are pharmacies, and they've been around for years. They're called compound pharmacies. When I was a hospice nurse back 20 years ago, I was 50 years old, I started working with a great pharmacist, and he compounded all of his medications. And so they take these natural ingredients, yam and different things, and they compound them into a bioidentical hormone. So there's natural hormones you can take today. And you can have prescription strength, or we could try over the counter. What I would recommend is diet first, and then also over the counter progesterone. I will put that on my Facebook page. If you're really, really sick, and you have no quality of life, I'm always going to say get a juicer and start juicing, because the juice goes straight to the cell. You'll be amazed at what it does, and it's very healing. And I would have to talk to you, or give me a PM if you want information on what to do. I recommend a Green Star or Omega juicers, but people who are really down with no quality of life, that would be the way to get yourself on your feet. The other thing is that there are companies now there's clinics, there's clinics where they balance out people's hormones. There's a lot more out there than there used to be. In fact, some people believe that all the Alzheimer's we have and dementia we have is because people do not supplement their hormones. Most men over 50 need natural testosterone. Most women over 40, most women need, actually perimenopause, most women need natural progesterone. Why are we low in it? Because we have all that estrogen dominance. And estrogen dominance is fine the first half of the cycle. The last half of the cycle, what happens is there's not enough progesterone. So the blood builds up on the lining of the uterus. That's what the endometrium is. And eventually it's going to come out and cause a big heavy bleed, or it's going to back up and go on the organs inside the body. Some people even have it, some women even have it on their intestines. Can be very painful. So endometriosis, heavy periods, hormone imbalances, depression and anxiety all go together, caused by all of the hormones and chemicals, xenoestrogens that we have around us today. And we have much more of this. You know, we're talking about pioneer days back in 1900. You know, women were more mature. Most of them didn't start their periods till they were 16. And just before they were getting ready to get married. And as our diets have worsened and progressed, and as we went to a fast food world, all of that, some little girls are starting their periods at age 7, 9, way too early, because they've been overexposed to the growth hormone, the hormones in the meat, the milk, ice cream, cheese, all of these chemicals that have caused the girls to start their cycle way too early. And so, then we put them on a pill, and the birth control pill can really, all it does is regulate the cycle. It doesn't always stop the bleeding. I've got several ladies that tell me it has not stopped the bleeding, didn't make the periods any better. You know, there's about, I don't know, probably 500,000 birth control pills in the world. What is a doctor to do? He's going to just practice. He's going to just figure out, well, I'll put her on this one, or I'll put her on that one. And there's so many different individuals, and we're all very individual. There's no other Carol Tudor, thank God. There's no other person with these fingerprints. Therefore, my body, if a doctor helps me, he's going to have to be wise and perceptive and listen to me and test me and see what's going to work for me. So not every birth control pill is going to work for every girl. And so what happens is then they tried the patch. I just heard about a girl, they wanted to give an IUD, and guess what? IUD does nothing but make bleeding worse. That's right. All my books, I studied all my books this week, and everything that is being offered and makes it worse. And so you want to change the diet, look into natural hormones, and I will put some more further on my page. It's a very simple, it's a little pump. You can buy it for $20, and you take the progesterone in the last half of the cycle. And that means like days 12 to days 28. I think I'm down to about 40 minutes. I want to mention this about thyroid. If the loved one you have is very irregular or having no cycle, I've had that. And I think I'll tell my purple toe story here. I told this about a year ago. I had a young woman, beautiful young woman in my classes, and this has been a long time ago. She's married now and has kids. She was 23, and she had a flat affect. Flat affect meaning no emotion on her face. She would come into my classes. She would get all A's, very detached. And she came and said, Miss Fry, she said, my toes are peeling. I said, your toes are peeling. And so I said, I need to look at them. So she went into my office, and she showed me the 3 middle toes on both feet were peeling, and they were purple. And so I began what I think I do that other people don't do, is ask a lot of questions. And I took a very long history from her. I said, tell me about do you have allergies, your stomach, your colon, do you have, you're supposed to be having 2 to 3 bowel movements a day, folks. We got people that are only going 3 times a week. We wonder why we're sick. So I asked her all these questions, and when we got down to the cycle, I said, she said, I don't have one. I said, what? She said, my mom took me to a doctor when I was a teenager, and he said, oh, that's normal. And she's 23 now. And so I said, that's not normal. So I took her to my doctor, and Dr. Cal Streeter, who is very excellent at helping people with fertility. And he started working with her on her thyroid and her progesterone. And it took about 2 years, really did. It took about a year for the cycle to start. Then it took 2 years to get her to be more normal. And by the way, there are regions of our country that are called goiter belt regions, meaning we get a goiter. Our thyroid and neck gets enlarged because our thyroid is working so hard because it doesn't have enough iodine and it doesn't have enough magnesium and selenium to make what we need. And every ounce of blood goes through the thyroid every hour. And so we have serious thyroid problems in America. And so this young lady, she finally married, and she still had severe hormone. In fact, I think she lost 3 children. She has 3 wonderful kids. But she could not find a doctor who would give her progesterone during her cycle. And you know, a lot of women miscarry during those first few, I say 16 weeks, those first 3 months, because estrogen dominance, they don't have enough progesterone, which is what the placenta has to produce. And the placenta needs to be thick and really healthy for the baby. And so you can be balanced out. There is hope. But you're going to need some kind of professional help, or you would need to private message me, and I can tell you where to look for answers. But definitely will need support for the thyroid if you're missing cycles, irregular cycles, infertile, going to need support for the thyroid, and you're going to need natural progesterone to help with the bleeding. Now, if you're interested in a product that will stop real heavy bleeding, and I'm not just talking of a heavy period, private message me and let me know. But right away, these girls need to just commit themselves to a diet change, even if they committed for 6 months, to see what would happen. I did not know caffeine was so bad for this problem. I read up on it today. I don't know why. I may do a secondary video on this, but you are what you eat. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, you present your body a living sacrifice. We can't keep putting dead food into a living body. Even eating cooked food all day, you won't have energy. I had a huge salad tonight. I had green beans, I had some chicken, and I had a very small, like a third of a baked sweet potato. And I try to eat a lot of vegetables, 4 or 5, 6. My husband had kimchi tonight, which is cabbage, spicy cabbage from Korea. We try to eat 8 to 10 vegetables a day. We try to eat only grass-fed or free-range chicken, hormone-free foods. I finally found pepperoni pizza that's nitrate-free and still is pepperoni, and pepperoni is processed, but I only do it once a month. And so I have found, and it's a cauliflower crust. The other thing is getting off of these genetically modified foods. Get off sugar, get off corn, get off wheat, and your life will be changed. If you want recipes, if you want information, go back in my timeline. I've got recipes on there. I've got several videos talking about what to do with food, what to do with how to find things, what samples to try, and am I 100% clean all the time? No, for example, I bought some sweet potato fries, and I think they've got like 1 or 2 little things in them but they're still better than regular French fries. And so I do have a few foods that I call borderline, but I keep those very much to a minimum. And so, you can do it. It's choices. Go to Aldi's. Go read the boxes and read and look at all the fruits and vegetables. Learn the fruits and vegetables. Go to Whole Foods and test things. I hope with the COVID being over, they're going to let people start taste testing food again. But go to Whole Foods. I have Mama Jean's markets, which are my markets. But Sam's, by the way, I get grass-fed bison at my Sam's. I get my grain-free chips at Sam's. I get my almond flour at Sam's. Sam's is carrying quite a bit more than in the past. So you can do it. It's possible. It will work. You are going to be a better person if you change your food. And you know what? The problems are not going to end when you're this young and you have issues. They're going to continue evolve into other things. Everything, if I had anything to do over, I would have taken better care of my temple. And I took care of everybody else and abused my body before I was 45. At 45, I had an epiphany and changed. But I've seen my relatives, the Tudors, they really do well. They went off sugar and found ways to make desserts with monk fruit and with stevia or xylitol. There's ways to make some very good food out there, and you'll really learn to love it. And I don't just eat sprouts and veggies all day. I mean, but I do love my veggies. But there's a way to be healthy. You know, Satan is after us Christians. He wants our spirit. He wants us depressed. He doesn't want us to pray. He wants us to have a brain fog. He doesn't want us to read our Bible. He doesn't want us to be rejoicing. And part of what he does is he's messed up our food. He's messed up our production of our food. You know, and it's interesting. America has GMOs. Canada has no GMOs. Europe has no GMOs. And so we are behind on, and we've been scammed by all the sugar that's in everything, the corn syrup, the high fructose, all the bad oils, all the different things we've been scammed by have made us a sickly country. They say by the year 2030 that there'll be more diabetics than ever. There'll be like 1 out of every 2 will be a diabetic. And that is so sad. And we just have to decide as Christians that we're going to take a step up and clean up what we're putting into our temple. Satan wants you sick, but God wants you well. Thank you for listening. Private message me if you need some help, and God bless you. I love y'all.